Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the second interview that we're doing here at CryX for OWCS 2025 Stage 1. My name is Ben, as always, and I'm here with Skyza, manager and owner of Sakura Esports, and Zorrow, DPS player, hitscan extraordinaire for Sakura. Thank you both for joining me today. I want to just jump right into it. So, Skyza, tell me a little bit about like what is the history of Sakura? How did you come to be involved in it? And why get involved in Europe for this stage?
So when Sakura was founded, I wasn't part of the Overwatch esports scene from what old staff and what the current owner has told me. Um it started off, I think in like 2019, it was called like Dog or Dodge or something like that. And they decided to, I guess, step their foot in esports, and so they changed their name to Sakura. And I believe they started off with Overwatch and they had a few Overwatch runs. They partnered with another team, I believe it was called Enatiku, probably around the same time. That had players like RuPaul, Vega. We had a lot of big names like coming through. But I think around like 2021, life sometimes just gets in the way, and org went dormant for a while. And a lot, probably like last May, so like May, well, probably like March to April of 2024. Um, the owner reached out to like me, or is reaching out, I guess, to the scene in general, asking if someone was to revive the Overwatch team, and I was like, I'll do it. I was relatively new to the scene around that time. I believe I was just released from Sheer Cold at that time, and so I was like, you know what, I'll do it. Why not? I'll do it. And I think like from that time in like May, we had like a lower level team, probably like 4-4 something. We didn't do much about it. We ended up dropping that team, and we picked up a free agent in a team. Did an expert run. Did a stage 4 run. Didn't really do much. And coming into 2025, I actually was not planning on doing anything, and then this roster kind of came my way, and well, yeah, all of it just kind of happened at once. So yeah, that I guess that's my history of soccer, at least how when I came versus when they had their really good contenders run.
Yeah. So you picked up this roster that had already been signed. And so I want to direct now towards you, Zoro. So who was the person that was sort of the leader, kind of putting together the project team that would eventually become what Sakura signed?
I think it was mostly like the managers, kind of like KP and Debit, kind of started it. They started smiling there, I think.
I no comment.
No comment. All right, awesome. No, but it was like a lot to the managers. I mean, me and Hitori, we've always been like kind of hand in hand, like all the way like since Super Shy. We've always like kind of talked to each other, used Dean with each other. We've even met like here in Sweden now because she's out here. Um, but like I don't know, we started just talking, and then we just figured this was a good roster to just go with, pretty much.
Yeah, I want to zero in on Hitori for a bit because it seems like she's kind of the linchpin of this team, at least in the sense of like most of the players on this squad have played with Hitori in the past. You with her in Super Shy, Prota was with her in Calling All Heroes on Nightmare, Strebor was with her on Quick. Is that sort of how some of these connections were made, or was that just maybe a coincidence?
Mm, I think it might have been just a coincidence. I'm not sure though. I think like a lot when we was trialing players, we was looking at like the best ones available. So it didn't really matter much about the connection and all that. Like we tried to get in anyone we could get in. So I don't think it had to do with connections a lot.
Hmm. Yeah. I guess also the debit and KP connection
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
might
yeah.
be more than anything. It's
Maybe, yeah.
always it's always the managers. But so Zorro, you kind of went out on your own from the ExO Core from last stage that was kind of one of the few rosters of any team that really stayed together over the off season, with the exception of you. So why did you kind of choose to split from that core?
Um, it did like take me a while to like think about it. Like I'm really bad at making decisions just in general. But when I don't know, when I got like in the off season, into the off season, I started like thinking. Like we were all like we had like a talk in EXO and everyone like agreed to go LFO and like try to look for opportunities and all that. And like just when trialing, like during the trial period and just thinking of everything, it was just sort of like a gut feeling that hit me. And I'm a big fan of like playing with Hitori. I think we have like really good synergy together.
Hmm.
So that was like a good reason as well why I decided to join. But just also like trialing and like playing with these people, like now in Sakura, like just the scrims went well and like they were all like chill, they were all fun. We had fun together. Like I don't know, I sort of just a gut feeling that made me do the decision. I guess maybe like a bit with the results that we got in EXO during stage four. They were not like the most like I mean we would have preferred to get better results than what we did, right? So that could have been like a bit of a reason as well, why I decided to leave. But yeah, I mean the old people there in EXO, they're chill otherwise.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's more of that everybody went looking for options and you were the only person who
Yeah,
didn't come back rather than being the only person who left, I guess is a
yeah.
better way of thinking of it.
I mean, I think from what I've heard, it like the off season was kind of dead, so I don't think a lot of people had a lot of like options and choices.
Yeah. Speaking of options and choices, Skyza, like what were you always looking to sign an EU team, or were you looking more to kind of at both NA and EU?
So I was actually mostly looking at NA teams because soccer is an NA org. We've always been an NA org. I mean, we've had like side teams in like South America and Australia and Europe, and we had a side team in Europe, but our main team has always
Yeah,
been NA.
with FOD
So
carry, right? I remember that.
yeah, that was soccer
FOD carry
EU's.
randomly in Europe.
Yeah, squad carry randomly in Europe. That was our little soccer EU team. That yeah. And so yeah, I was mostly looking at NA, and I was sitting down with some of like the free agent groups, some of the like the team that didn't have like orgs yet, and like we just couldn't really find anything that really worked for Sakura personally because we're still kind of considered we're starting the org back up, so we don't have that much resources, that much connection to anything, and like yeah. So once like we went through all the NA teams, we were like, okay, I think we're just gonna partner with other teams this year instead of fielding a roster. And then it was I think like 24 hours before like the first day of qualifiers. I get a message from not from Deb. I get a message from Debit's friend Blitz asking
Hmm.
about, hey, there we have this roster. Do you want to sign them for the stage? And I sat down and I thought about it because like I was just sitting at my desk like doing homework, and I got the question, so I sat on it for a bit, and my assistant general manager went and talked to them because I was doing something as well. And then I think it was probably about like 8 o'clock, 8 or 9 o'clock. We signed them,
Hmm.
and it was we had 11 hours to prepare to get all their stuff in and everything else. So like yeah, it was a very last second thing, but I don't regret any of it.
Hmm.
I
What
don't regret it at all.
what about that? Was there anything about the roster that appealed to you, either from a competitive perspective or from an organizational marketing perspective?
I think it's the fact that like well I've heard of all the players. I've never
That helps.
personally
That
like
always helps.
worked with them. I mean I knew Hitori from Ka and Prota from COD. I knew the other three. I knew Zorrow from EXO because I also work a lot in EMEA in general. And so I was like, I know these players and I know they're have good results. And I know that they're probably chill. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
And then Zorro, for you, I know you were because I remember speaking with Hitori a little bit as the team was coming together and as you were looking at org options. Um, what was it about Sakura that appealed to the team in terms of an org to sign with? Because I know that you had some other offers.
Um, okay, I mean, I wasn't that involved with the org things. Like, I
Fair
kind
enough,
of
fair enough.
trusted Kate with all that and David, because it
Trusted
was so
nothing.
like it was so chaos. Like during the last periods, like during the last days when he was coming up to the qualifier, it was so chaos with like all the orgs and everything. Um, I mean, with the KP and David, like they presented every like contract option, like everything like that. And I mean, like Sakura was the one that looked the best out of all the ones. I can't lie. And I mean,
Mhm.
personally, I actually love the color since I don't know if ever anyone's like seen my new banner yet, but it like matches perfectly with my profile picture.
Mhm.
It is awesome, actually. Jersey is also really nice, but I
Speaking
mean,
of the Sakura jersey, you can use the code CRYX, KRYIX, to get 10% off a Sakura Esports jersey on victory.gg. It only works for the Sakura jerseys. You can't use it on other jerseys. Just Sakura. Use code CRYX there, 10% off.
you see, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Great segue. Thank you. Thank you. Um, so I want to delve a little bit into the roster itself now. So first off, I think for a lot of EU fans, they might not be very familiar with Prota. So how did she end up on this roster, and you know, what do you think she sort of brings to the team? This is kind of directed at both of you, I suppose.
I
Mhm.
had like I had no involvement in actually making the roster, but I think the big reason why that the manager decided to bring Prota in was I honestly think it was because she played with Hitori in night on Nightmare Eclipse, and so
Hmm.
like they had that good like connection and all and synergy and stuff already made,
Yeah.
and so like I
I don't
honestly
think
think that's like
Prota
the big
I don't think
reason.
Prota
Yeah.
actually played on Nightmare, but they definitely like had a connection already.
Oh, I thought. I thought they played
I'm
on night, but I knew they
I'm
had a
pretty sure Proto
connection.
was sort of just
Oh,
chilling on the bench.
okay.
But
I
no,
knew they
but
had some
your
connection.
point still
Yeah,
stands. Yeah.
yeah. I knew they had some connection, and I also knew Perota from Dreamland
Hmm.
formerly, and so like yeah, that's also where I knew Perota from
Yeah.
was from
Zorro,
Dreamland.
were you at all like skeptical or hesitant about bringing in a player from North America who was going to be on a little bit of ping?
Um, I mean, it was probably, yeah, I was definitely like a bit skeptical to the beginning. Since our options looked like very limited. So for me, it all kind of came down to the trials, and then we had just Proton coming into the trials, and she was like destroying everything.
Hmm.
So it was kind of perfect. Um, I mean, I don't know, I fell in love with like her playstyle like instantly. I think it was really nice,
Yeah,
like
I
a
think
great fit to the team.
even if you look at EMEA, like what is it? One, two, three, four, five of the teams have starting flex support players that are imports from other regions.
Mm.
Three Koreans and then two North Americans. I guess the EU support market is kind of dry, maybe.
I think
Um,
Maybe.
The EU flex support market, I personally feel is just very dry.
yeah,
When it comes to this high of a level, I feel like it's a little bit dry. So
yeah.
yeah.
And so your qualifier run, I think, Earl, were you expecting to kind of do as well as in qualifiers as you did? Because you were kind of rolling people. Um, Particularly that Incendia match I want to focus in on. Was that did you expect that to be a 3-0 going into it?
I do think we expected to win since we were already like we were like confident going into the match, and like from all our like preparation and from all our scrims, like we were very confident. I did not personally expect like a 3-0, since on paper I think the like the hybrid team, the scout team, that looks like a very strong roster.
Mm.
Um, but I mean, we kind of found out their like sort of weaknesses, and we tried to like abuse them to the most like we can, and we just like got into the flow of it and had a really good day there as well. Um, I mean, I'm not sure if we all like expected it, but I do definitely think we expected to win that.
Mm. And you're obviously one of the teams that I think has been playing, like obviously everybody's playing Hazard, but it seems like you're playing perhaps more Hazard than almost any other team. At least it seems like that. Um, is that something that you think is a strength of particularly of Hitori's?
I mean, Hitori is really strong on Hazard. Like she's really good, like mechanically. Like if we were to compare to all the other tank players, I think Hitori is one of like the best mechanics out of them.
Hmm.
Um, so I mean, she does also have like a really good Winston. So we have tried like playing the Winston sometimes, and all that. But like the Hazard was something that we really like leaned into, just because like we basically just like tell Hitori, okay, go and lobby admin, and then she goes and lobby admins, and it works. So I'm not
Hitori,
complaining.
Hitori lobby ad. It's just like Hitori smash, go
Yeah,
kill.
exactly.
Yeah, Hitori lobby admin.
Um, and so did the patch that came out on Tuesday affect any of your gameplay approaches? I don't are guys are you involved at all in kind of the coaching stuff? Because I know you have coached teams and done like data analyst stuff, or are you more focused on
Um,
management with Sakura?
I'm mostly focused on management because like, yeah, I'm mostly just focused on management, but yeah, yeah.
Well, I was gonna ask, so what did y'all think of the patch that came in last Tuesday and how that might affect the meta at all, or what you're planning to play? The consensus seems to be that it's not affecting things massively, but that it is, teams are trying a couple of different things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it has affected like much at all. We have like tried experimenting with like playing different stuff. Like for example, the Tracer buff. Like we've tried playing Tracer. Also the Echo buff. We've tried playing her. Um, I don't remember if we tried playing Winston fully yet, but that's probably something we're looking to do and just like kind of experimenting a little bit more during these like preparation days. But most of it is just gonna be to like iron out like the small like problems and try to get more consistent overall.
And speaking of the patch, I do want to ask, so Skyza, was Maeve the coach, was she with the roster when you signed them? Because I remember when I was first hearing about the project team, it was a different coach attached. So was she somebody that you brought in, or?
Um, no, when the roster was presented to me, I was just given who the staff were and then who the coach was, and like that was it.
Mhm.
But I knew Maeve from Dreamland, and I Prota knows Maeve, so I pretty much assumed that Per just like brought over Maeve, and like
Mhm.
yeah, they just had a blast. That's what I assume.
Is that
So
what
like yeah,
is
that's
that
that's
how
all
it
I
played out,
know.
Zorro, or?
I think it was sort of like that. It was definitely like Prota could vouch for me, but then it was also like a bit of the NA connection with
Mhm.
like KP and Debit. Um, Probably Debit that had a big hand in there. I figure. I'm not sure.
Are you scrimming any North American teams, or are you just scrimming EU teams?
We are trying to scrim up some North American teams, but we're trying to like keep it a bit limited still because the ping
Mhm.
it creates like a lot of difficulties during
Yeah.
the scrims.
Obviously, you won't be playing NA ping, but more was just
Yeah,
wondering if those connections came through.
it is. It
So
is.
the reason I asked about the coaches is because I think the big thing this year, like the big gimmick, is hero bans. So different teams have different approaches to this. What is Sakura's? Are you a team that likes to ban more without, without obviously like if, giving anything away that's like of tactical advantage? I don't want you to do that to yourselves, but do you approach hero bans more offensively or defensively?
Mm. I'd probably say defensively,
Hmm.
but it does really depend on the team we're playing. Like we always try to prepare into the team we're playing, and like I don't know, studying a bit of their like old bands and all that, and then we're trying to like see what we want to ban. Um, so it's probably like a bit more like slow approach that we use, like try to get at the safe option.
Hmm.
But like a lot of it with our bands is sort of like in the moment, where we all like before the map we all like sit there and talk like, okay, who do we want to ban? All right, we ban this, and then we go on.
Yeah. And being kind of a five-player roster, well, okay, you have Juno, shout out Juno, but like basically a five-player roster. Um, do you think that gives you an advantage because of the format change of the substitutes coming before hero bans of like you're not making any roster changes anyway, so you can't be predicted like that?
It could definitely pose as a small advantage. I don't know if it makes that much of a difference, but like I think we're all like very flexible players,
Hmm.
so it could definitely like be of help. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like I said before, like we look at the team we're playing, we look at the players, okay, what they like to play, and then we adapt towards it.
Skyza, what do you think of them adding hero bans this year? Is that a change that you welcome, or is it something you're not a fan of?
I think that hero bans are overall a good thing because I think it creates a lot more like depth and more thought about the game. Because if you were to like you don't just ban a hero like you would ban a map. Banning maps is just, oh, we're just not good on this map, or we don't like the certain comp we have to play on this map. It's not as nuanced. But when it comes to individual hero bans, I think that it creates a lot of like creativity and like different strategies you could play out, especially when you could play like the same comp, but you might have like slightly different players like play styles within the very same comp. And I think banning a hero out of like the meta comp could really like be the difference between teams, honestly, because of if they play the comps slightly different, it would really impact the score and could impact the performance overall. So I think that they're a really good thing. I really, really wished they were in like Masters and below because they're not. They're only in OWCS this year. And I honestly think that's such a detriment to any of the Masters teams that are looking to promote after their season because they're not gonna understand hero bands and what they're gonna do and all.
Hmm.
So like I really think that them not having bans at all is just a huge detriment for anyone that's looking to promote at all.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but teams are scrimming with bans, right?
Yeah, they're scrimming with bans, but they're not gonna like actually like
Right.
officially play matches with bans. And like I think that scrimming with bans is very good, but I think that to actually determine if it's working out and determine that if it's very effective, they need to do it in official matches where the stakes are higher, there's more pressure and stuff like that. So
Right. Is there any element in scrims of trying not to potentially give away certain ban strategies, or is that not something that really crosses your mind when you're practicing?
Um, I don't think it's anything we've thought of yet. It might be something we do think of, coming like more into the season.
Right.
Like right now, it's still sort of like in the preparation phase, so we're sort of just like, I mean, like I said before, trying to iron out the small like problems and things we have in our team, trying to get more used to each other.
Hmm. And my last question, and I'd like you both to kind of take a crack at answering this, but do you feel like underdogs? Because I think a lot of people will look at, even without even looking at the rosters, just looking at the names of the teams, they look at Gen G, they look at Twisted Minds, they even, look at these Saudi organizations that have pretty big pocketbooks, um, even Peps, right? And then they see Sakura. Is that, do you feel like underdogs at all or not really?
I definitely think we're underdogs. I at least feel so. I mean, I do think it's a good thing though, feeling like an underdog. Um, I think it's a big thing of like how we, like for example, when I played in Super Shy with Hitori, like it's a big part of how we actually like became better and like got our improvement like we did because we were the underdogs. So people were like, um, they weren't like thinking of us as a threat. But then we
Mm,
came back like hitting harder than they thought we would. So I definitely think it's a good thing, but I at least like I mean, like you said, looking at the orgs, like they also have people like from Overwatch League. They have more like Korean imports and all that. So they definitely have like the money advantage, as you said, and like the experience as well. Um, so
mhm.
yeah, I do see us as like an underdog team.
What about you, Skyza?
Yeah, I honestly think that they're an underdog team, but like they have my entire heart, and it's just because like I said, I wasn't planning on getting this roster, and especially like I now feel that it's really hard to actually get people invested and interested in this and Overwatch. It's because no one knows where to look to find anything really, and I mean that like investors don't know when stuff is happening. I feel so
Mhm.
it's me as like the general manager for the org. I feel like it's very hard to approach like companies and ask like, hey, do you want to invest in Overwatch Esports? When there isn't really an incentive to do that. So like all these Saudi orgs, even Peps and stuff, they have their infinite money glitch and all, and they have all of this past experience. And then uh, and then this org Sakura is just ran by two college students pretty much. So so yeah, we're taking things as we go, and but yeah, hopefully by the end of the stage and even by the end of the season, we'll have some investors, some, and we'll have some more resources to help all of our players succeed to the best they can. So yeah,
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a great sentiment. I never know what to say in response to the last answer someone gives, but thank you both for joining us, and don't forget, you can use the code CRYX to get 10% off your Sakura Esports jersey. It's a really cool jersey. You can get it with Zorrow on it. Zorrow, what's your like jersey number if you have
I
one?
I have number 10.
Number 10. You can get number 10 for Zorro. I don't, Skyza, do you have a uniform number?
yeah, it's 21. That's
21.
my
There you go.
number. Yeah.
You can get a Skyza jersey, you can get a Zorro jersey, you can get your own jersey, with your own name on it. If you want to live in a world where Sakura Esports signs proper, you can get a Sakura Esports proper jersey if you want, and you can get it for 10% off with the code CRYX. Yeah, follow us on Twitter at CryXGG, our website, cryx.org, to stay up to date with all of our blogs and reporting news. We're going to have more stuff coming out on Collegiate, more stuff coming out on China as well. Anything either of you would like to plug?
I just want to
No.
say thank you to everyone who like supported us both in Overwatch and outside of Overwatch regardless. Like we'll always be here and we love you guys. And like yeah, and make sure you're watching out for us as we make our debut on at stage 1. I forgot the date, but we'll be there.
It's
We'll
the
be there.
31st, January 31st, next Friday,
Watch
or
out for
this
us that
Yep.
Friday,
day.
whenever you're seeing it.
We're coming in strong. We're gonna
Yep.
come in strong.
What Sky said. What Sky said.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us here.